Hello and welcome to our series Curated, hosted by the Charleston Gallery Association, where we go around and we interview galleries affiliated with us. I'm Bryn, an intern with the CGA, and along with my colleague Grace, we're hosting this series. We're happy to be in Hagan Fine Art today with owner Wendy Carlin. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So to start off with, what brought you to Charleston and inspired you to open a gallery in the Charleston area?
So Hagan Fine Art has been in Charleston for about 15 years. It was founded by artist Karen Hagan. And about 2 years ago, when I was moving here from the Northeast after spending my professional career in arts organizations up there, I had met Karen kind of by chance and we became friends. And after a couple of months, she had decided she wanted to move on from owning a gallery and just focus on painting. So we started conversations about my buying the gallery, and 6 or 7 months later, I took over, and it's been great ever since.
Okay. Would you say there's a difference in the industry between Charleston and in the Northeast?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the most interesting differences to me is that there are artist-owned galleries here. In the Northeast, that's really not seen all that much. So when I first got here, I was always interested. I'd walk into galleries and the principal name on the door was the actual artist who was being displayed, which that just doesn't really happen as much in the Northeast. But it's a great model and it works really well down here, but it's pretty unusual up there.
Okay. Is there any specific focus for art and artists that you choose for the gallery?
We kind of switched gears a little bit from the way Hagen was before, only because that's my experiences in contemporary art. So it didn't really make sense to kind of do some of the other programming that Karen had been doing. So we really focus on local, international, national contemporary artists who are working with light and color and texture and kind of exploring abstraction using different mediums and techniques and styles. So we're a little bit different than the programming before, but we still, I think, are similar in that Karen, developed Hagan to be kind of an open community of different kinds of artists with a lot of light and color. And we've sort of kept with that same theme.
Okay. Has that always been a style that you find yourself drawn to?
It's interesting. I started my career at Sotheby's Auction House and was always a big Impressionist fan and really struggled with kind of understanding contemporary work for a long time. But then as time went on, it really has become my favorite genre. And I really love abstraction and the different ways that artists are playing with that these days.
Is there a piece that has a special story within the gallery?
So this piece right next to us, we're very excited about this new artist. Mary Royal Wilgus is a South Carolina native, but she's now based in Brooklyn, New York. And this technique she's using, she refers to as light foraging. So she actually takes the canvas outside and finds shadows between either leaves or trees or buildings, and she lays the canvas down and actually outlines how the shadows and the light are playing against each other. And then she takes the piece back into her studio and decides how she's going to use color to take advantage of those different shadows and light plays. And so the shapes are all really created from her physically laying a canvas down on the ground and actually tracing how it's come through either, as I said, leaves or trees or buildings or structures.
I can't imagine moving that outside.
Well, it's not stretched, so it's just a piece. The canvas is unstretched, which I think makes it easier.
Okay.
But it's a really fascinating technique, and we were very happy to find her. And I visited her studio up in Brooklyn, and she really does really beautiful work. And sometimes she uses a little bit of different materials, so she also is working in a little bit of mixed media, which is really interesting.
Okay. So this is a newer artist?
Yes. Yeah. And we were, it was funny. We found her work and really enjoyed it. And then my first phone conversation with her, she said, well, I grew up in South Carolina. And I thought that was so what a weird coincidence,
Small world, yeah. So how do you decide which artists or works that you want to feature in the gallery?
So we have artist submissions twice a year, and we'll look at those submissions and make some selections from that. But we're also, the team here is always looking at different artists who we see online, or we'll go to, emerging artist fairs or exhibitions, either, at the college or, and try to find some new and emerging artists that we feel like would fit in with our programming.
Okay. Um, what role do you think galleries play in keeping art accessible to the public?
Well, I think it's really important, especially in a city like Charleston, where we don't have quite as many museums as some cities. I love the Gibbs and it's great, but it's one of our few kind of fine art museums here. So it's amazing. We have such a vibrant gallery community here that offers such a wide range of work for people to experience. And I know that, all the galleries really try hard to have a focus on not only established artists, but emerging artists, and supporting them and starting their journey, and exposing them to all of the collectors who come, especially our big groups on First Fridays. That's so fun to see people see new artists and different experiences.
All right. Um, Compared to other galleries in Charleston, what would you say is unique or a draw towards your gallery?
I think, as I said before, we're kind of trying to do just a little bit of different contemporary and abstract art for people to experience a little bit different styles than some of the other galleries. I think that there's a wide representation of mediums and different kind of art in Charleston. So it's nice that we're all kind of presenting to everybody a lot of different options. But we really try to focus on sort of finding things that might be a little bit different, maybe having more texture or mixed media or a different technique like Mary, like something that's pretty unique. And so we really look for that a little bit in our artists.
Is there a piece in the gallery that you think is often overlooked and deserves a bit more attention?
So we have one of our favorite artists is Anna Carl, and she does these collages, and they're called urban grids. And so when you first look at them, it kind of, you see the collage part of it, and that's really interesting. But to know how she's really basing it on, she's looking at a city and she's sort of kind of putting that together in terms of like how the grid looks and what it represents to her. And so you really have to kind of spend some time looking at it and really understanding the detail. And I think sometimes people look past it because they're like, oh, it's a collage, and maybe it's just, the colors aren't right. But when you really look at her detail and how she's like layered all of these pieces of paper and then painted, and they're really fascinating.
What does art mean to you personally?
So it's funny, we had this question in our about page for our staff when we first changed over, and my mother used to go to artist studios in the 70s in New York, and so she was always really active and interested in art. So introduced it to me at a very young age in terms of, appreciating and, supporting the arts. And when I graduated from college and I started working at Sotheby's and got involved in the New York art scene, it was just so clear to me what a big part of our culture it enhances. How people just get to experience all of these different expressions from people. And when you talk to artists, I love to go to studios and talk about their process and what compels them. And every story is different, and it's so amazing to me how they get to where they are creatively, and change their process over time and do things differently. And I just think it's really important for people to support visual performing, all arts, because it's such an important part of our experience.
You mentioned you weren't always the biggest fan of contemporary art. Is there something that shaped your journey to becoming a fan of this genre of art?
Yeah, one of my jobs, I worked for the Philip Johnson Glass House, which is an architectural artist site in Connecticut. And he was a big collector of contemporary art. And so he had these large pieces by Frank Stella and Robert Rauschenberg. And, I got to see them up close and see their detail and understand each piece and its story. And it really started my appreciation of contemporary art. And there were so many other artists he was collecting at the time. John Chamberlain, who's a sculptor. And so I spent a lot of days with that artwork as we were getting the site ready. So I really became a fan, and just started to love it.
Awesome. And if you could give one tip to someone starting their own art collection, what would it be?
So I tell this to people all the time, that you have to buy what you love. collecting is a long-term, in my mind, a lifetime situation. You should want to love the piece and move it to every place you move, or take it into every house you are and enjoy looking at it. I think you have to collect from your heart and your visual stimulation, and not try to chase trends or fads. You really, I think you should love the piece of art and want to live with it for the rest of your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us time
Thank you.
today. And thank you everyone for watching this interview. Have a great day.